Hello and welcome to this episode of Take 15. I'm Lauren Foster, Content Director for Private Wealth at CFA Institute. Joining me today is Jim Coutre. Jim is a partner at the Philanthropic Initiative. It's a non-profit consulting firm that helps families, foundations and corporations across the globe advance the art and science of their philanthropy. Welcome, Jim. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So a big part of your mission at TPI is to advance the field of strategic philanthropy and to try and engage financial advisors. In fact, you've written that raising the philanthropy question is a triple win for advisors, for clients and society. So two-part question. What is the philanthropy question? And then why is it a triple win?
So the philanthropy question is really a moniker that we use for advisors opening up a conversation, a space for reflection with their clients around their philanthropic efforts and goals. It can be done as simple as a question. Think about your current giving. What do you find most rewarding? What do you find most frustrating?
Right.
Or it can be a not question. It can be a seminar, hosting something to bring together families that are interested in thinking about philanthropy and, let's say, create a philanthropic mission.
Okay.
So really it's that anything that an advisor is doing to engage in a conversation, because advisors are in a really unique place. They have this relationship with the clients.
Okay.
They have their trust. They're already talking about goals, philanthropic goals, and often life goals as well. And so they are able to create a safe space, like few others are, to be able to get their clients to think and to explore and to really reflect upon their values and how that should relate to their philanthropy.
And why is it a triple win?
Well, it's a triple win because when people are more thoughtful in their philanthropy, when they align it to their values, their interests, and their goals, what we find is that they'll become more effective in their giving and more engaged in their giving.
Right.
And over TPI's 25-year history, we've seen that when donors are engaged and feel that they're moving towards their goals, they're going to be more generous of themselves. They're going to give more of their money, they're going to give more of their time, and they're going to be more effective.
Yes.
So that's a great win for society, of more philanthropic capital going to pressing social problems and more effective philanthropy going to those pressing social problems. It's a win for the client, and research shows that there's just great this value, this personal satisfaction that you get when you're doing philanthropy and you're doing it well. Right. It also adds many times a new dimension to an individual's lives, and it gives them an opportunity to talk about and transfer values throughout the family. Okay.
So I'm curious to know, how are advisors actually doing on this front? I mean, are they actually having more conversations with their clients? If they're not, why not? Or are they actually getting better at this?
There's some good and bad news there. Okay. I think we at TPI did some research a few years back to ask that question. How many advisors are talking to their clients about philanthropy? And our research and other research shows 80 to 90% say that they're talking to their clients about philanthropy, which sounds great, but if you really go kind of under the surface, you'll see a different picture. I think when we talk to donors and ask them if their advisors are raising philanthropy, we hear that no, they're not. It's the clients that are bringing the topic up. And so we see professional advisors are not doing it consistently.
Right.
And when they are raising it, too often it's in terms of taxes, tax incentives, giving vehicles. Okay. And these are the things that they use to kind of check off the box of, okay, I asked my client about philanthropy. But when you're talking about philanthropy and you're talking about taxes and giving vehicles, that very seldomly inspires a donor, inspires an individual, excites them, gets them to think more deeply about it. Right. So those conversations very often fail to launch, as opposed to when you talk to your clients about philanthropy based on their values, based on their interests, based on their life goals. Those are the conversations that get traction and get people excited to kind of think and dig deeper and be more thoughtful about what they're doing, what they could be doing, what they should be doing with philanthropy. Okay.
So why do you think financial advisors are reticent? Do they not sort of have a handle on the sort of the language of the philanthropy, or they're not educated? Why does it behoove them to learn more about it?
So there are a lot of obstacles that keep advisors from talking to their clients about philanthropy. Some don't feel that it's their job, some don't feel they can get compensated for it. Right. But a lot of what we see is that advisors aren't talking about it because they're not comfortable with it. They don't have the skills, or they're not comfortable with their own philanthropy. So there's really two things there, and one is to understand that there's a lot of value in just opening the conversation up and letting the client explore on their own. and passing them to other resources. You don't need to solve it for them.
Yes.
You don't need to develop a philanthropic strategy for them. There's a lot of value in just getting that conversation going. And then also there's that idea of understanding your own philanthropy and being more comfortable in what you're doing and making sure that it makes sense to you. Because when it makes sense to you, you're going to be more inclined to talk to your clients about it.
Okay. So in philanthropy, and I guess in the nonprofit world generally, there are a lot of buzzwords. And is strategic philanthropy another buzzword? Or if it isn't, even if it is, how is that different from checkbook philanthropy or checkbook charity?
So strategic philanthropy, if you want to call it a buzzword, sure, but it's a buzzword with some great longevity because it actually came across in the early 20th centuries when the big industrial lions, Carnegie and Rockefeller, diverged from charity, that checkbook charity, that's putting money towards the to the symptoms of the problems. And what they did is they switched it around and they wanted to take a very scientifically rigorous approach to the root causes of those problems. And this was really the first time in American history that we saw that focus on what they called strategic philanthropy. So those same practices that they're using are very much the same ones we talk about now. So it's understanding the root problem that you're trying to address, having clear objectives, doing the research and getting smart on the issues, understanding what is at play, what are all the factors leading to those issues, and then being very thoughtful in your planning, your execution, and evaluation. So not just doing the philanthropy, but going and following up and figuring out what's working, what's going as planned, how do we evolve that, how do we refine that.
TPI has done some work on, I guess, identifying best practices for integrating philanthropy into wealth planning. Maybe tell us about some of them and maybe touch on some of the bad practices that one should avoid doing.
You know, when I think about best practices for advisors, kind of three things come to mind. And the first is to get comfortable. So it's, what we had talked about a minute ago, which is understand your own philanthropy, make sure you're in control of that, and then to just pick up just as much skills as you need. Some advisors really make it a big part of their business to understand how to do philanthropic planning, but not all advisors don't have to do that. So just some basic questions to open the conversation. You don't need answers, you need questions, and you need to be able to create a safe space. Also, ask early and ask often. So when there's major milestones in a client's life, like a sale of a business, or a personal milestone like children coming of age that need to learn about wealth, those are wonderful opportunities to engage your clients. But you can ask whenever. You don't need a milestone, you don't need excuse. And then the third thing really is make it personal. It's not about taxes. People are not inspired to give by taxes. They definitely want tax deductions for their giving because that's allowed, but that's not why they give. They give because they want to have that personal connection to the world around them. They want to feel that they're giving back for something achieved. And so have those conversations around values, around goals, around what inspires them, what they want to see in the world.
I'm glad you sort of touched on the tax question. I think in your presentation today you spoke about, a lot of people think about tax being the primary driver behind philanthropy, but in your research it was something like the number 12 reason. So what were the sort of 1, 2, and 3 in terms of what drives people to give?
So the tax thing is very comfortable for advisors. That's what they know. That's where they're comfortable. That's where they're comfortable. And it avoids having to talk through squishy things like values. So it's a lot easier for advisors to do that, so they go that way. But really, when you look at what inspires donors to give, it has nothing to do with that. It really is about the kind of impact they can have on the world and the kind of value and the kind of meaning they want to put into their wealth and their overall life goals. So we say engage the individual that way, and you're going to have more meaningful conversations that are going to lead to more effective philanthropy.
Great. I think it's a very important question and those are great insights. Jim, thank you for joining us and thank you for watching.
Copyright 2013 CFA Institute. This program is designed to give accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is distributed with the understanding that CFA Institute is not engaged in rendering legal, accounting, tax, investment, or other expert advice. If legal advice or other expert assistance is required, the services of a competent professional should be sought.